Hi, I'm Kayla Raney, and you're listening to the Solo Nerdbird podcast. Today, I'll be speaking with the creator and writer of the Scarlet Range comic series, Ro Lamb, alongside the comics illustrator, Kayla Raney. And today, they're both here to promote Scarlet Ranger Inheritance Part 2, currently on Kickstarter. Welcome to the show, Kayla, and welcome back, Ro.
Thank you.
Well, outside my introduction, who is Ro Lamb and Kayla Raney in pretty much your own words?
Well,
I'll let you take the lead on that.
all right. I'm a writer, a storyteller. I live in Atlanta, Georgia with my wife and 4 sons. And I just enjoy telling stories that help people connect with themselves.
And I'm Kayla Raney. I'm an illustrator, a comic artist, and a fine art painter. I am based out of Florida with my husband and our 3 fur children. No human children. And I'm so lucky to be working with Ro and collaborating with him on Scarlet Ranger 2. I was a really big fan of Scarlet Ranger 1. So it's pretty cool that we've manifested me getting to be the artist for number 2. So real stoked about that.
Word.
So, Ro, what is Scarlet Ranger, the series, about for new people that may be tuning in who've never really heard of the series before, and those who are fans of their first issue? What should they be expecting in the second one?
Yeah, so Scarlet Ranger is about a young man who inherits the title of Scarlet Ranger from his grandfather. And in doing so, he becomes like this superhero for the city called Royal City. And in the first issue, we see basically his grandfather's greatest enemy break out of prison and begin to terrorize the city. And so the story follows Dion as he learns what it means to be the Scarlet Ranger. And ultimately, it's about tradition. It's about legacy. It's about learning how to honor the people, the trailblazers that came before you, while also learning how to create your own path. And so that's sort of what we begin in the first issue. And the second issue picks up right where we left off in the first issue. And we just begin to see more mystery, certain things that Dion believed about his family. He begins to realize they may not all be true. And so, there's action, there's some mystery, there's, some more sci-fi elements. And, I think it's a very fun story. And we have Kayla on the first issue. We had Coy Carry-On do the art. In this issue, we have Kayla Raney, and Kayla is absolutely amazing. And she's brought so much heart, to the story. And so I'm just excited to get the book into everybody's hands.
Well, can you both, I guess, elaborate a little bit more on your creative process as individuals? So Kayla, as you an illustrator, and Ro, as you a writer, and then how you were able to integrate them together and collaborate with one another on this second issue of Scarlet Ranger?
Yeah, go ahead, Kayla.
Yeah. Me? I didn't write it.
But no, start with the art. Think about the art.
Okay. So first wrote it. Then he emailed it to me. And then I was like, oh shit. So like I said in the beginning, I started Scarlet Ranger as a fan. Before I really even knew Ro through like the indie community or anything like that, I had backed the Kickstarter. I'm not even 100% sure how I found Scarlet Ranger, to be totally honest. I think just creeping around in the like Facebook groups and that kind of thing. And I was like, this looks amazing. I think there was like a motorcycle scene that I was really drawn to because my husband like rides motorcycles and I did when I was younger. So I was like, fuck yeah, like let's do this. So once we got to the point where Ro and I knew each other and he asked me to do Scarlet Ranger 2, I was both excited and terrified to take on the project. Terrified because this was a story that I had fallen in love with in the first issue, not just for the writing, but also I'm a huge fan of Koi and Sai as well. I thought that the way that they handled the aesthetic of Scarlet Ranger 1 really suited the first installation of the story. And so it was really important to me moving forward that I maintain some of the foundation that they had laid visually for Dion's character, for the way the Royal City looked, the color palette that they were using. So as I've drawn the story, I've found myself referencing the first book a lot. Like, it is now worn out to the point I probably need a new copy.
I got you.
Yes, I've written notes like in the margins. I've got sticky notes all in it, like just making tweaks here and there of the way that I sort of envisioned the story as it was unfolding when I read it the first time, and the way that my mind took what Koi had laid down and expanded on that. Because in Scarlet Ranger 2, we actually moved to locations outside of the Royal City. No spoilers, but it was a lot of visual research that I had to put in to understand the sci-fi elements, to understand the sort of cybernetic technology that we were using. And that was really exciting for me. It made me feel like I was a part of the world building process, which isn't something that I get to experience a lot as an artist in this industry. Usually authors have a very well fleshed out, very true to their vision art direction style. And Ro is just like, you do it. Like, I'll check in on you like whenever stuff is like getting done, and we'll just make sure we like it and move on. And so I've been given so much creative freedom that it's been really creatively like fulfilling for me to be working on it.
Yeah, and I think for me, as a writer, I want the artists that I'm working with to be invested and passionate about the story the same way that I am. And I think the best way of doing that is to say, hey, this is not just my vision. This is also your vision, And so I put down in the script, I try to write the things that I think are important, certain colors or certain angles. I may do that. But for the most part, if I don't specify what's happening, I want the artist to be able to bring their vision. And Kayla has such an amazing vision. And there's a detail that she brings, to the pages. That's absolutely amazing. And I think that makes the project better because it's not just about me, what I'm saying? It's also about, my collaborator and my partner, what I'm saying? And so it's been a great process. I remember after Kayla finished the first, I guess, maybe 5 pages. I don't know if she was even finished with the 5 pages, but we had a meeting and she went through page by page and she asked me, what do you think about this? Do you have a vision for this? And I'm like, well, I mean, I do sort of. She's like, oh, I got it. I can do it. I'm like, all right, cool. And there were things where I was like, well, I see it like this. And she was like, cool, we could do that. And then there were other things where I was like, I don't really know. And she was like, all right, cool. There were places in the script where I actually said, I don't know how we're going to do this. Yes. This is what I'm thinking. You let me know if we could do something like this. And I just think it's great just being able to work, and work as a team, what I'm saying, on a project like this. You know what I'm saying?
So I guess with everything that you've learned with this project and maybe with other projects through your whole journey as an artist, as an illustrator, as a writer, just creatives in general, what advice would you offer to other creators you wish someone would have told you when you first started? So it can be Ro, it can be on this Kickstarter. Kayla, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Kickstarter. So any advice that you would give to anybody else, or it can be, the working on this project, working with other projects, just anything that you wish someone would have told you when you first started in your creative career.
Ron, I'm gonna let you start on that one. Yeah,
I got you. I think for me, it's really 2 things. It's start now and start small. I think when you're first getting started, you think that you have to do, the 100-page, graphic novel. You have to do the super huge novel, the 10-part novel or whatever. Like, no, you don't have to do that. You can start with short stories. You know what I'm saying? The first comic book project that I did, it was like 10 pages, right? And that just gave me the ability to say, okay, I'm learning the craft, one. Two, it's cheaper. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm paying my artists, so I'm not paying, all this money to try to do, like, I'm learning. It's just a process, and I think the other thing, that's the starting small part, but the other thing is starting now, like not waiting. You can get caught in the trap of well, I'll do it next week. I'll do it next month. I'll do it next year. And time just goes by and you never do it, And so I just say, start now. If you have a passion, you have an idea, you want to do something, start right now. What's the smallest step that you could take towards that goal or that vision, and do that smallest thing, do it right now. And I think that if you do that every day, that builds a creative momentum that really will help you finish what you start.
Yeah, I think that's such good advice. I love that that's something that we keep like revisiting in all of the media appearances that we're doing. This concept of like, especially for creators who are new to the industry and they are seeing people and partnerships like you and I, where we have developed this kind of what I would consider very successful collaborative partnership. We have worked together to bring this product that we're really excited about, this story, to life and bringing it to people. But neither one of us started that way. Like, we had to take the steps, we had to pay our dues, we had to take the baby steps to get to the point where you and I could actually have this type of partnership. And if you're somebody who's new to indie comics as a writer or as an artist, my first piece of advice is always cultivate those relationships with the respect that you would expect for yourself. This is a professional industry. Approach it as a professional, and you will automatically have professionalism returned to you. The biggest complaint that I hear about people who are new is they have a hard time finding people to work with. They have a hard time finding artists. They don't really know what to do with their content once they have it. If you put the effort in and you put the work in yourself as the project manager, as the creator, to figure out step by step how to make this a successful venture, then it will happen. And it may happen over a longer period of time because you have to figure out funding. You have to figure out how to reach out to distributors. You may have to figure out how to set up a Kickstarter. Like, your vision doesn't come to life overnight. Right. Patience is so key in this industry. Right. And making sure that you're cultivating relationships with artists and with writers will make 2 to 3 years down the road from your first project so much smoother than it starting out, So, and I think too, something that's really important for people who are starting out or who need to hear it now, value your work. Make sure that if you are an artist, you are asking for what you're worth, because I can tell you from experience, somebody will recognize it and they will acknowledge it and pay it and respect it. And that will be the beginnings of a successful relationship that you can carry forward. And same with authors. If you're an author trying to work with an artist who doesn't want to listen to your vision about your story, they don't want to reciprocate the respect that you've shown them by paying them for their services, then you should know that you need to readjust, find another artist who will do that for you, who will reciprocate that, who will listen to you. And that's how those relationships like move forward and are successful.
But also when you say cultivating relationships, I think too, cultivate relationships, like real relationships that aren't based on
Yes.
just work. You know what I'm saying? Like I try to build relationships and friendships with people. Obviously, I would like to work with people, but even if I never work with those people, I still want to build those relationships. You know what I'm saying? I still want to be a genuinely kind person. I want to operate that way because I think that gets paid back to you. In the end, you know what I'm saying?
Especially in the indie space where like the magic of indie comics and indie makers is that it is a community. Yeah. And if you feed into that community like feeds you. It's a symbiotic relationship.
And I think also you have to understand too that you might have some bad experiences, but that doesn't mean that the entire community is off limits to you. You know what I'm saying? So you said earlier, you've heard, it's hard to find artists and authors are, untrustworthy. You have all these things that happen. It's like, okay, that may have been your experience with that person or that person, but that's not every person. So a part of the journey is finding your people, finding your community. For so long, I wanted to be a part of a team. I wanted to be on somebody's label or whatever. I'm like, sign me, I'll write for you. I'll do this for you. I'll do that. And it just never worked. And I said, what, I'll just do my own thing. And I started doing Scarlet Ranger. And now I'm on a team with Kayla Raney and we're working together and we're collaborating. I'm like, that's crazy. I just had to find my people. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. So with everything that you both mentioned about cultivating relationships and networking and, actually doing the work, starting small. And then I feel like at the same time, I think people kind of underestimate what goes into when you create something, especially from the ground up, or even maybe coming in late into a project and having to kind of examine what they did before and then try to not recreate it, but put your own spin on it, but it has to kind of make sense at the same time. Right. And then that's just the work itself. And then the people, that's not even including, family, friends. Yes. You might be working a full-time job or another part-time job, household duties, pets, bills and whatever else. So throughout, I guess, maybe not just this Kickstarter or this project itself, it may be just throughout both of you guys' careers. Like, does it ever get overwhelming for all of you? And like, how do you typically manage your mental well-being throughout all of it?
This is a Kayla Raney question right here.
I don't know about that. You're the one with 4 kids.
That's true. And a dog.
Yes. Your life is crazier than mine will ever be.
But the reason why I said this is a Kayla Raney question, though, is because she has all the systems. She has all the plans, right? I'm just like flying by the seat of my pants out here, like, but no, I think it's one of the things I always say, we talk about balance sometimes, and I don't really believe in balance. What I believe in is being present in the moment that you're in. And so, there are times when I'm writing, right? So I have my writing times. I have my 2 to 3 hours, maybe 4 hours a day where I'm writing, and that's where I'm present at. And then when that's done, I got the kids. You know what I'm saying? If I got the kids, I'm not thinking about writing. I got the kids and we're, doing house stuff. We're doing this, we're doing that. Okay, cool. And then if I'm not with the kids or I'm not writing, I'm probably with my wife. I'm with her. Okay, cool. I'm present there. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's just about wherever you are, whatever you're doing in that moment, being able to be present in that moment and say, okay, I'm going to be fully here and I'm going to invest my full energy here because I know that when I'm done here, I'm moving to my next thing and I'm going to be fully present there. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how I sort of think about balancing family life and work life and all those things, because it can be super overwhelming. And I don't always do this perfectly. I don't do this perfectly. This is the ideal way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you make it sound like I have my shit together, and I definitely don't. I just have systems that I hope work or that I put to work as best I can. And I have yeah, like I have found ways to manage the pressure, to manage the amount of hats that we have to juggle as creators, because it's true, a lot of people don't realize, you know, I'm not spending 8 hours a day doing studio work. I'm spending time, like probably 60% of that time drawing. The other 40% is split between bookkeeping, networking, making sure that I'm like paying myself, paying my business, running errands.
Rose text messages.
Yes, Rose text messages. That's about 20% of my day right there.
Word.
But you know, like you have to play so many roles as a creator. Just because I introduce myself as, hi, I'm Kayla Raney, I'm an illustrator, that means secretly I have 5 or 6 other jobs like on top of that relate to just that one role of being an illustrator. And also, I don't just work on one project at a time. That's not like financially viable for me. I have to work on a minimum of 3 to 4 projects. I'm usually juggling 5 to 6 because I have a problem saying no. But the way that you navigate that is, one, very particular to you as a creator. That's something that I really firmly believe. You just figure out what works for you. And I have found that if I am maintaining my mental health, everything else kind of squeaks by. As long as I am being mindful of, oh, it's been 6 hours since I left my desk, I should probably go sit in the sunshine for a little while, or like take my dogs for a walk, or go play tennis for like an hour or two. Like those are things that help me maintain a sense of normalcy and balance. And compartmentalization, like Ro, making sure that when I step away from my desk, I am present in whatever else I'm doing. I'm not bringing work with me to the dinner table. I'm not bringing work with me when I'm going and meeting a friend for coffee or something. Making sure that I'm not bringing it out on the tennis courts, like very purposefully leave it in my office. So yeah. And also too, like this is something that I learned, the more work that I take on and the longer that I'm in the industry, there is no shame in outsourcing parts of your like studio workings. You know, I've been very fortunate that Ro and I have gotten to bring on a project manager, Ro, which really, sorry, you guys are going to hear my dogs. They're not killing each other.
Everybody
They're playing
okay?
with the cat. No, everybody's good. Sorry.
It's fine.
So yeah. I mean, you like outsourcing is something that I have found to be really valuable. And I don't know if a lot of creators talk about it. Like I outsource a majority of my like yearly bookkeeping. I outsource certain aspects of like my social media management, so that those are things taken off my plate so I can continue to focus on what I want to do, which is studio work.
Yeah, I haven't really heard anybody talk about having a project manager or bookkeeping or have social media manager or anything like that. I think they kind of it's just whoever is doing it. And yeah, I think it's just whoever is doing the project, and then they delegate it to each other in a way. So it's like 3 or 4 people working on it. You do this, and you do that, instead of them all focusing on the project and then outsourcing it to other people. It may be a financial thing, there may be a control thing, there may be something that they didn't even think that they could do.
Yeah. I mean, look, I didn't think that that was something I could do. I thought that that was like financially out of reach for me. But the longer that I spend doing this, the more that I realize that there are ways to make that happen. And it alleviates so much of the stress that comes with trying to do 10 million and one things all by yourself. Whether that's, you know, trading services, if that's coming to some type of financial arrangement, like percentage wise, like there are ways to find solutions to that if you put in the brain work to kind of figure out how to make it work. And not everybody needs it for their projects. If they're comfortable being able to maintain all of those like jobs and hats at once, that's amazing. Like my hats go off to those people, but I, as an artist, like I put so much emotional and physical energy into just creating artwork. It is very difficult for me to have my brain spread in all of those different ways. So being able to hand off a task to somebody else whose job is just to handle that task is like one of the only ways that I can like make my like studio practice work.
But so I think the hard part is there's like a delineation, or we want to make a delineation between the artist and the business person.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's like I tried to start some businesses like earlier on in my life or whatever. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to own a business. I just want to be an artist. Right.
Yeah.
I want to be an author. So now I'm writing, I'm doing this stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm having a great time. So now it's time to start putting my stuff into the world. And it's like, I'm actually running a business. I'm running a business. And so I have like this block in my head where it's like, okay, if I start doing all of this good business stuff, will that take away from like my artist stuff? Right. So it's like, I want to continue to be like this artist, free flowing, like, oh, I don't know what's going on. The other day, Kayla asked me about something and she said, yeah, so, you know, when you do your bookkeeping, I'm like, when I do my bookkeeping, what are we talking about?
Taxes? I have to pay this?
Like, what? Keeping books? What? But that's stuff that I have to really, I have to start getting into the habit and the zone of like, okay, this is not just fun stuff anymore. Now it's fun, but it's you, in order for it to continue to be fun, you got to do your business stuff, you know? And that, like we're talking about, is knowing what needs to be outsourced and knowing, you know, all of those type of things so that you're running a smooth and effective, efficient business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that that's something that, you know, it's hard for people to wrap their brains around it, because it was hard for me to wrap my brain around it until I actually was like, okay, I'm going to be a freelance illustrator. I'm not going to work for a studio. I'm not going to work with an agent. I'm not going to do these things. And coming from a like gallery background where I always kind of had, at least to some extent, some sort of structure, somebody else's structure that I was working under, to suddenly be like, I have to do that myself now. Mm-hmm. Otherwise I can't like pay my electric bill. You know, like it comes down to like, this is my livelihood. So whether you want your art practice to be a business or not, it becomes a business, and you have to very quickly realize and figure out, well, like what works for me, what works for the way that I have my life structured. And for me, it just happens to be like a very regimented like business model. Mm-hmm. And it allows me to make a living. I don't have to work any other jobs other than just being an illustrator by doing that, which was my goal. But that's not everybody's goal. And that's certainly not everybody's position in like the indie creator sphere.
But even it's not even just about money or making a living. Like, other people are running businesses and they will take advantage of you. Yes. If you don't understand what you're getting into.
Yes.
You know, I've always been in situations where I didn't understand the business.
Right.
It put me in a place where I had to make some really tough decisions, and I had to have some really tough conversations and potentially lose out on an opportunity because I didn't approach it with the right business sense or the right business savvy. And so it's not just about the money. It's also about being able to operate in this world, in this field efficiently. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So my last question for the both of you is, what is your idea of success? So I asked that, I asked that because as creators, if we're not getting regular paychecks from a full-time job or making consistent revenue from our art, we're considered failures. Many of us will put our dreams and projects on the back burner or give them up altogether because this career path can be highly intimidating and competitive. So what is your idea of quote unquote success? Now, Ro, I don't know if your answer changed. I think I asked you this question last time, right? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but you can answer it again. I don't know if it changed.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I said, but I think it's different now. I think it's different now.
yeah. I was wondering, like, did it change? Because when I started asking those questions, another person had told me, his name is Patrick Lugo, and he was like, success can be fluid, it can change. So that's why I was wondering, like, I think you're maybe the second person I've had for the second time. So that's why I wanted to ask again, like, did your answer change?
Yeah. So I don't remember what I said, but I do know this. So when we finished funding issue 1, we got it all printed up and we got it. I was able to get the book into 4 different stores here in Atlanta, and we sold out in all the stores here. And so that's cool, right? I was like, oh, this is great. But the last store that we sold out in, the owner of the store sent me a picture of the last of my books coming off the shelf. And it was a dad standing behind his son, and his son was holding the book, holding the book in his hand.
That's
and
nice.
I was like, oh, this is success. Like, it's not that I sold out of the books, but it's that a father, because the story is about fatherhood. That's really what this story is about. Mm-hmm. And so being able to see a father and his son in the comic book store holding my book, that was success to me. And so it's always about connection, me connecting with people and people connecting with themselves. And when I can do that, when I can, impact people through what I've written, that is success. That's success for me.
Yeah, I think this is something that Ro and I align so much on. And it may be a big reason why our collaborations work so well together, because I think our ideas of success and how they are separate from financial success are really similar. It's like you said, success is fluid, and it can depend on what aspect of my creative practice you're talking about. Me as the business person, of course, I'm going to say, well, success is in numbers. Success is in, what my quarterly reports look like. But that's not as important to me as what is, I'm so sorry, guys, as what is fulfilling me as an artist, what is reminding me of the reason that I became a full-time artist in this industry to begin with. And it is moments like those, knowing that I have had a hand in being a part of this story and this craft that has touched people's lives, that has impacted people and has given them something to relate to, because that's my experience as a reader, as somebody who consumes comics and media. The magic of feeling solidarity or feeling like I can escape into the magic of a world, or feeling comforted by it or challenged by it, like those are all so important to this idea of, did I successfully execute this story? Did I successfully bring what I have to give, which is artwork, to this medium? And so I think if I'm maintaining my ideologies, like these are the stories that I believe in, I want them to lift up the communities that I'm a part of. I want them to give a sense of belonging to children, teens, adults. I want them to impact people in a certain way. If I'm upholding those sort of pillars of belief within my art practice, that's a version of success. And I think that that's separate from money, because I can say, like, confidently, I have turned down jobs that would have just given me money and not creative fulfillment, or they didn't align with like my belief system in what I wanted to be a part of as an artist. You know, it was like I could do that, but I don't want to, and I don't believe in it. So it becomes a secondary part of like that idea of success for an artist. And you know, because Ro and I have that because Ro and I are similar in that way, I think that's why like it is so easy for me to be so passionate about Ro's stories, because I see all of the things that I personally believe in and believe should be in people's hands in his work.
Because the last thing I would say too is money is just, in my opinion at least, money just means we can keep doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like,
it's just a door opener. That's really what it is. Money
Right.
just opens the doors. Like we were talking about the other night, like money opens the doors to like our relationship. Money opens the doors to distribution, to getting the product into more people's hands, like to paying my power bill so I have the light to like continue drawing. Yeah.
So on the topic of money, and Ro, I hope you don't mind we get off of Scarlet Ranger for a second. And I wanted to ask you, Kayla, specifically as an illustrator, as a freelance illustrator, how did you come to the point of justifying the prices that you give for your artwork? Because, you know, as artists, we kind of struggle with like, how much do I charge, especially like in the beginning with our work. And like, we always see our work as bad, even though we have progressed as we continue on doing it. And, you know, as we progress, the price should increase as well. But how did you come to the point of justifying the price for your work and quoting people when they come to you with inquiries?
So I'll be honest, I think I had a really big advantage when I came into the comic industry. I come from the tattoo industry, and I was taught kind of a loose formula almost for how to price artwork that we were putting on people's skin. And it happens to translate really well to the rest of the art world, which is like you're kind of multiplying hours and supplies and the labor and the amount of time that it's taken to learn that craft. And you sort of end up with a ballpark like number in that. So I came to this industry with a lot of experience in that way, but at the end of the day, I still struggle with justifying how much I charge. You know, it's a constant battle. Every time I send somebody my price quote, I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, there's like a pause. Like, am I good enough to be asking for this? Yeah, okay, I am. And I think that's part of the challenges that come with being an artist, because especially if you are somebody who is selling your creative services in this industry, you know that you are constantly questioned. It's not always an internal, you know, dialogue that's bringing about the doubt. It's clients will always ask you, well, why is it like that? Can you go any lower? Can you give me a deal? I'll trade you this instead of paying this full rate. So it's really hard to maintain and like hold your ground. Like, no, this is my page rate. This is like, or this is, you know, my project rate. This is what I want for this. And I believe that I'm worth it. And I think that it's just taken me time, just time to have the confidence of like, look, I can show you consistently that I can do this work for what I'm asking. And oftentimes I think that I give more than I am being paid for. And it creates a system of like faith-based payment where it's like, well, I know you're going to go above and beyond. So this page rate that I'm paying you seems like, okay. which may or may not be the best way to go about it. But I think being able to explain and articulate too, like, hey, you're not just paying for my artwork, you're paying for my supplies, you're paying for my time, you're paying for room in my studio schedule, you're paying for the years and years that I have spent getting to the point where I can do this for you.
Mhm.
And for me too, like, you also pay for my communication skills. I'm somebody that is very professional when it comes to my practice. Like, do you want somebody who's going to respond in a timely manner to you concisely and lay out like, hey, this is how this works for us? Or do you want somebody who's going to say, yeah, okay, and then you don't hear from them for 3 weeks and you text them and you're like, hey, can I get like an update on the art? And you're like, oh, actually, give me like another week. And you're like, okay. Like there's a certain amount of like professionalism and experience and like communication that you're paying for when it comes to that too. So I don't like to think of it in terms of like justifying. I feel like I shouldn't have to justify, but I understand why I do. I think it's more about having confidence in yourself, even if you struggle every day with like, am I actually worth the amount? Especially when you spend a lot of time like looking at other comic artists and saying like, holy shit, like they're so good and they charge like, $50 less a page than I do. You don't know the circumstances around that. That person may not rely on comics to pay their bills. That person may live in a country where $100 page rate feeds their family for 3 weeks. Like there's so many other factors that go into it. So yeah, just not comparing yourself, believing in yourself and what you have to offer. And the idea that if you are raising your rates, it's because you deserve it. You've built the experience, you've built the networking. And I think people are always surprised. I know I am every time I like throw out a new page rate and somebody's like, yeah, okay, I'll pay that. Okay, great. I guess this is what I charge now.
Yeah, and if I could piggyback on that, I think something that she said that was key was understanding what you're paying for. I don't think people understand what they're paying for. I follow a writer who said somebody asked her to write a blog. I think it was like maybe like a 300-word blog, and she gave her price, and he's like, "That you're only writing 300 words." And he was like, "It's probably going to take you like 30 minutes." And she was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I don't want to pay that for 30 minutes." And she said, "But you're not paying for my time. You're paying for the years and the years that I've put in to be able to write this for you in 30 minutes. Yeah. Because if anybody could just write this in 30 minutes, you could write this in 30 minutes."
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I think it's key to understand, like, if you've put in the work to get to a certain place, they're not just paying for the, and that's the thing about art. It's not just the product that's being put in front of you. It's all the things that go into creating that product. And, the masters, they make it look easy. They make it look simple. Yeah. So you could draw that, you could do that, you write that in 10 minutes. But that's because of all the practice and all the hours of mastery that you've put into it, so that now, it's second nature to be able to do this. So I think that's so key to understand what's actually being paid for.
Yeah, I used to charge people because I learned in school from when I did graphic design. A professor said it was like charged by the minute. So I would do like 50 cents a minute or something like that. Right. But then I learned there was a guy that said something. He said, stop charging for your time because they're not paying you for your time. They're paying you for your solutions.
Yeah.
So that writer, she was providing that man with a communication solution that you mentioned, Kayla, as well. And like you said, you have these skills that you've accumulated, that you've earned. My dog is barking now. That you've learned and accumulated over the years, and you know how to solve these problems that a company or a client has had issues with, and you can solve like that. That's what
Mhm.
they're paying for. They're paying for your solutions and your services. They're not paying you for your time.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I look at it now.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, absolutely.
What? No, you go ahead, Kayla.
Oh, I was just going to mention too, like, following up with like being able to provide solutions. It's also about the relationship that you offer as well. Like, I think that's something that Ro and I talk about this a lot. I take a lot of pride in the fact that I have cultivated clients that once I've worked with them on at least one major project, we generally work together for years, and we build a long lasting relationship because, like, hey, you want me to like promote this project that we worked on? Absolutely. You want me to like help spread the word, do the networking, like assist on the Kickstarter? Absolutely. Like, it is because I have found clients who respect what I ask for as a professional, and I offer the same respect back to them, that I have been able to build a sustainable business model of these people that will like pay me what I'm worth. And I think it's important for new artists in the industry who aren't really sure or feel like, I don't know how I'm ever going to get like a regular client list. You just keep working, and you will find those people, and you'll build this really solid foundation of people that are there for you. And word of mouth is how like I was able to get to where I am now. Like, never underestimate the value of word of mouth.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, okay, back to Scarlet Ranger. Is there anything else that all of you want to touch on about it, like as the Kickstarter or maybe upcoming issues or wherever it may be that I may have missed?
No, I mean, yeah, just check out the Kickstarter. We are a little
We're
over 80% funded.
89%. Yeah.
Yeah. We're moving along. We're moving along.
It's so
yeah,
close.
yeah. Check out the Kickstarter.
We got that last like $300.
Yeah, for sure. So once we hit that goal, then we'll have some stretch goals that we will announce.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely check that out. And I'm just excited about, the future of Scarlet Ranger and working with Kayla. And yeah, I'm just excited about it. So check it out, and please support. And because I can't wait. I'm serious. I cannot wait to get this book I can't wait to get it in my hands, to be honest with you. But, I can't wait to get it in your hands as well. So yeah, for sure.
Ro, are you going to be doing any conventions this year?
Yo, you know what? So
Hey.
that's a good question. So I was going to wait to do cons. I don't think I've talked to Kayla about this yet.
I don't think you have. Last I knew, we were waiting.
So I went to a con to meet some indie creators, and I was talking to a guy, Michael Watson from FSK. I forget what FSK stands for. Anyway, I was talking to him, and he said, "Bro, you doing cons? What's up?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm waiting until I get some more material. I'm doing some planning. He said, "Man, get a table, man. You got to get a table." He was like, "Your book is dope. You got to get out here." So I've had some people send me some cons and things that's happening later this year. So that's a long-winded way of saying I'm going to try and sneak in somewhere. Again, I hadn't talked to Kayla about this yet. But when I found something, I was going to talk to her about it. But anyway.
Well, I asked because like BlurCon, you're not going to be able to get into there because I've tried. Thank you. From what I've been told, you kind of have to already be in already to get in there for the next year.
Yeah.
And then Baltimore Comic-Con, I don't know if you want to travel up here, either one of you, but they're accepting people for tables. It's $100 a day. I'm trying to see if I can get in there for a table for my stuff. Anything else? I don't know. I think all the summer stuff is probably already booked. You may have to look into fall cons, maybe.
So somebody sent me something that's happening in Alabama in July. They actually have some tables open.
Okay.
Called Urban. I think it's called like Urban Nerd something. I have to look it up. Anyway, there's like some like few and far between things that's happening like later this summer. But like you said, most of the stuff that I saw, I was looking like fall, maybe like winter. So yeah, I would like to try to do something. I need to do something just to start getting out and meeting people and showing my face and, you know, trying to get my book into people's hands. So
yeah. Can we reveal that we're for sure for next year?
Oh, like, yes, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I didn't want to spoil anything. Yes, no. 2023. Yeah. I think, you know, Ro and I are definitely going to be looking at tabling. So I'm Florida based, and there's a ton of like major cons right around Orlando, which is where I am. And Ro, it's only like, it's a pretty quick like hop and skip from Atlanta to Orlando. I think it's only like a 30-minute flight or something. So because of the proximity that we're in, I think there's at least 3 or 4 bigger cons that we're definitely going to try and be in next year. And I think some micro cons in this area too were something that we've been kind of side-eyeing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so definitely 2023.
2023. Yeah, I've definitely been like looking to see if you're doing anything. And again, like I said, I'll try to be at Baltimore Comic-Con. I'll put it up on my stuff as well. So if you were thinking of coming or anything like that, I'll definitely be there just to let you both know.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty much it, because I don't think they're doing the Baltimore Book Fest this year. But yeah, I try to see if I can get just to do one, just to get the experience.
Yeah. I know that I will for sure, like 95% sure, be at the New York City Comic-Con next year. And possibly in Virginia next year as well, which I know is pretty close to Baltimore. So that would be an easy jump for me as well.
So you going without me? You going without me?
Leg.
No, that's great though. That's great.
You are obviously invited. It has not been discussed yet.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank the creator and writer of the Scarlet Ranger comic series, Ro Lamb, alongside the comics illustrator, Kayla Raney, for joining us here today to promote Scarlet Ranger Inheritance Part 2, currently on Kickstarter. I highly recommend our listeners to give the Kickstarter a look, share, and back if they can. All of Ro's and Kayla's socials will be listed in this episode's details for those who are interested, alongside the Kickstarter link. Again, I am K.S. Garner, and you've been listening to the Solo Nerdbird podcast. Thank you.